no one likes a rich 20-year-old. And so if you're in your 20s, getting rich is even harder because you're going to get more judgment from anyone around you than if you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s. Because if you're 50 and you're getting rich, then maybe you deserve it. People think you've worked a long time. And so if you're 20, know that it's going to be a lot harder for you, but it's going to be a worthy battle because you'd rather be not liked being rich than rather be not liked being poor. So I'm going to go through a few things that are going to be useful for you. If I have to turn back the clock, I'm 42 now, and I have to turn back the clock 20 years of what I would do differently to get rich. And by the way, in my 20s, I did become a self-made millionaire. I bought 13 properties and did really well for myself, only to lose it all in my 30s. So I made some reckless decisions and then made it all back again when I started my coaching business. And so, the good old traditional model of go to school, then go to uni, then get a job, 9 to 5, then save up, and then buy your first home, and then invest that and get the equity, buy your second home. Now, that is a safe way, but it's not the best way. And it's a way that puts you in a box. And so there are some thinkings around that, which is great, which I do love and I do agree with. I do agree with that you like the whole concept of going to uni is a good idea, but the university idea is no longer valid. I'll give you a real life example. Basically what you want to do when you finish school is you want to go learn a skill. That's what university is for you to learn a skill so you can get employed and get paid your six-figure salary in corporate or whatever it is. And I used to be an optometrist, and the skill I learned was the skill of being able to diagnose and treat eyes. And so we went to university for 5 years. And when I was an optometrist, there was only 3 universities in Australia, and each university would only graduate about 40 to 45 optometrists. And so in the whole of Australia, there would only be about 130 optometrists being released to the whole country every single year. And so employment was very abundant, and that's why it was very easy for us to get a job, and we got paid relatively high compared to most other professions. Not as high as an entrepreneur, but relatively high for a 9 to 5. And now, I haven't been in optom for 8 years, and it's been 18 years since I've done optometry or graduated. Now there are 7 universities in Australia which produce optometrists, and each year they graduate, each university graduates 120. That is about 800 optoms being released every single year. And the UAI to get into that is 99.3. Can you imagine studying your ass off to get 99.3 to do the right thing, and only to realize there's another 800 to 900 optoms being graduated that year, and then you're out of work? Why is that a scam? Well, people think coaching is a scam, but I believe that's the biggest scam of all, because they are just wanting your money. They don't care about saturation. They don't care about whether you get employed or not. All they care about is that this is a high status thing that you can get a degree in and work hard for the rest of your life on a $70,000 to $80,000 salary, which is BS. And so the good old days of trying to do that route is not working anymore. But you do have to learn a skill. I do agree you have to learn a skill, but not the skill that society wants you to do, or the skill that maybe governments fund, or the skill that universities want you to do. The number one skill that I would invest my time and effort and energy in my 20s is the skill of selling. You must put all your time and effort and energy in the skill of selling. And there's so many free resources right now in order to learn how to sell. But that's the first thing. I'll put all my focus and energy and time in my 20s to learn the skill of selling. Because let's be real, if you're 21, 22, you don't know what industry you want to be in. You don't. You don't know if you want to be in the online industry. You don't know if you want to be a social media influencer. You don't know if you want to be in the health industry. You don't know if you want to be in the tech industry. You have no idea. But the skill of selling allows you to go from one industry to another, to another, to another, to find the industry that you're passionate about, and you'll continue to be in work, and you'll have a skill that can continually make you money, because when you help someone else sell their things, you'll always be abundant in wealth. And so focus on that. So that's number one, learn the skill of selling. Now, the second skill I would learn is the skill of saving. What do I mean by that? I say this carefully. I don't want you to go into a scarcity mindset and think I should save. That's not what I'm saying. But learn the skill of cash management in your 20s. You must. If you don't learn that skill, you're going to be broke for the rest of your life, because in order to become wealthy, you have to spend less than you earn, invest the difference. Spend less than you earn, invest the difference. Spend less than you earn, invest the difference. Unfortunately, most people in their 40s or 50s or 60s still break that rule because they never learned it in their 20s. What does it mean to learn in your 20s though? It means that you have to let go of what other people think. I drove a shit car for over 10 years, a really shit car for over 10 years, while my friends were driving much nicer cars, and I was on about $140,000, $150,000 a year, and I could have afforded a nicer car, and I had a lot of savings in my 20s, a lot of savings. And my friends would spend everything that they earned into brand new cars and upgrade the car every single 3 years. I had one friend, it was crazy. He every 2 to 3 years, brand new car, and when he gets his new car, he upgrades it. Like, you're in your 20s, he got the turbo. He had this one called like a 180 SX. I don't know if that's still around. And he'd always got the subwoofers, and he just put all his money into cars and just kept on spending all his money in cars. One thing, like, he thinks it's cool, but everybody else knows that you're being an idiot. And so be okay with being seen or being perceived as the idiot who's maybe frugal or saving, whatever it is. You must develop that when you're young, because it'll carry through to your 30s and 40s. And people think, oh, when I earn more, then I'll start saving. No, that's almost like saying, how do I say it? It's almost like saying, when I get clients, then I'll invest in coaching. But then how do you get clients? You need to get coaching to learn how to get clients. Does it kind of make sense? Like it's kind of like the chicken or the egg. So be okay with living below your means. Be very okay with it. Now, when I lost everything in my 30s and we had to downsize and live back into a tiny 2-bedroom unit apartment, that was my father-in-law's apartment. And, I had to let go of a lot of my pride and my ego, because we were living in a beautiful home, water views. It was just amazing. And to downgrade like that and ask my father-in-law for help, it was a tough moment. But at the end of the day, I was okay with that, and it was easy for me to do that and live in a tiny home when all my friends who didn't lose their money were living in massive houses, doing really well for themselves, multiple properties. But I had developed that habit when I was in my 20s, and I was okay with that. So that's number two. So number one is master selling, learn and master selling. Number two is saving. But when I mean saving, I mean not to be frugal, but just to understand that you must always spend less than you earn and be okay with that. And then number three, which is the most important, is then you need to spend time with the right people. And so in hindsight, in my 20s, I used to always wanted to be the top dog. I used to always wanted to be number one in my sphere. And I felt great about it. And for a long time, I was number one. I was the person who was the most successful relative to my group. But I was disillusioned, because really, when you think about it, it just drove my own sense of ego and my own insecurities, that I could not have someone in my top 5 that was doing better than me, because then it'll make me feel small. Without realizing, if I had someone in my top 5 that's doing better than me, then it'll allow me to drive me to become better, and it'll raise a standard. And so I deliberately spent time with people who I felt were not as successful as me. And then when someone became more successful, I would withdraw from them. And that was my thinking. And I realized it wasn't just my thinking. I realized that's most people's thinking. People will feel very insecure spending time with people who are more successful than them. And that was me. And so I would spend time. So right now it might be like, how do I spend time with successful people? Well, you probably have a top 5 in your group right now. And whether you're in your 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s or 60s right now, this will apply to you. In your top 5 right now, if you just imagine it, if you just think about the top 5 people that you spend most time with right now, and some of them you like, some of them you don't like, some of them like are really beautiful people, just think about who's the one that's moving in the direction that you want to go. Who's the one that's closest to that? Who's the one that maybe in your eyes most successful? When I say most successful, it might be best marriage. It might be best health. It might be best career. It might be best finances. So you define success. So you need to find that first person that is the most successful in your eyes in your peer group. Spend the most time with them, because they will also have a top 5. that might not necessarily be your top five. I guarantee they will have one or two people that you don't know and they have a slightly different circle. And the more time you spend with them, the more likely you're going to be introduced to their circle because their circle is probably better than the other circles the subcircles that you're in right now. And that's how you gradually move up. Because when you're in your 20s, you probably don't have much money. And the best way to do it is to pay to play. But not everyone's going to have $5,000 or $10,000 or $25,000 to invest in a mastermind. And if you do that in your 20s, then you're doing really well. Probably you can save up until your mid 20s to do that. But when you're starting out, you don't have that. You don't have the luxury. But what you do have is hunger, drive, and ambition. And what I've learned about great leaders and great entrepreneurs is that when they see a young person that's hungry and driven and ambitious, even though they don't have the physical, tangible results in their life, they are drawn to those people. We call them A players, and don't ever think that you're not worthy enough or good enough to spend time with people who are way further ahead than you, because people who are way further ahead than you, if they're truly good people and great leaders, they see talent, and when they know talent, and when they see you with that attitude, believe me, they're going to want to take you under their wing. And in my life, I have had that many times that I didn't see or I didn't realize, and so many times I've even discounted it and thought it was all a scam. I remember there was one time a good friend of mine really wanted to take me under his wing, and I thought, what does he want from me? Is he trying to use me? And I used to think that a lot, not only to realize that he saw that I was this young, ambitious kid. I was hungry, I was driven, I was open to learning, and I just wanted to do whatever it takes to become successful. And so when you and I'm sure as you're watching this right now, you probably would see young people and say, wow, they got it. I should spend more time with that person. Or I should nurture that person or bring that person in. And that hunger and that drive is infectious. So use that as your asset. It's a massive, massive asset. So I trust this is valuable for you. This is short and sharp of exactly what I do in my 20s. Number one, learn the skill of selling. Number two is learn how to save, spend less than you earn. And number three, spend time with the right people. If this was useful, then I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.